Good morning, everyone. Yes, we're still in pajamas because after 2 weeks on East Coast time zone, somebody is getting up really early. So I've been meaning to do this since we got back, but there's just never a great time. And excuse the mess behind us. They had to get in and do some construction or something in a closet, so everything got pulled out and has not gotten put away yet. I noticed recently that this guy was walking on his toes, and that was something new. So we had originally, I'm going to talk shoes, I'm going to talk toe walking. So I've talked in the past about these shoes. I really like this brand for kids that tend towards pronation because Mama? It has a nice sturdy heel cup.
Mama?
Yes, I'm talking.
How do we sit up tall when we're sitting?
We will talk about that, okay? So you want to sit down while I talk? So I like these. They have a nice sturdy heel cup, which helps control the calcaneus, which is this part of your heel. Because here, I'll show you on him. When they pronate, this part of the heel turns out and this part drops down. So if you stand up, bud, stand up. And turn around. Turn. Okay, so if you can see, this part is in on an angle. I'll share some pictures of this also. And this part, there's a bone here called the navicular, is tending towards the ground. Okay, so we want the sturdy heel cup to help with that, to help control that calcaneus. He has always tended towards pronation, so I've used some more supportive shoes. I have an old post. We're talking to the cat right now. I have some old posts that show the difference between him with the supportive shoe and not supportive shoe. So anyway, even though this is the same brand we've used, all of a sudden, like, this did not seem to control his foot, but I had already bought them, so we were using them, and his function is not necessarily impacted. So I then decided to try a different brand just to check it out. So we got these Pumas. Again, a nice sturdy heel cup. These ones, for some reason, fit a little bit narrower, so they did a better job. But once you start wearing these, all of a sudden he started toe walking. So I thought maybe he just had outgrown these, and I just kind of missed it, because this was honestly the first pair that we have worn through before growing out of. Like, these are just like falling apart. So we went to the store, and he went with us, and of course we saw Paw Patrol, and this is the first time he's gotten to sort of pick him out. They're okay. The heel is not as great. They're definitely wider than I like, but they were big and his foot was not tight. Well, still toe walking. And not a lot. Like, if you were to look at him, you might not notice it, but I'm a PT and I noticed, like, he was hitting his toes way more than he was hitting anywhere else on his foot, and he really should be hitting heel to toe. So I then decided, because these are too wide, not controlling him, he was still toe walking, I decided to bring some inserts home from work. So these are the little step ones, to give him some support. It definitely made a difference. Again, I'm not in love with these shoes for his foot. It can vary for everybody, but for his foot, I'm not in love with them, but he is. So we added the insert. What's nice is that he gets a teeny tiny bit of a lift from this heel, so it can help him get to his, like, change. Let me explain this. So my other toe walking one, I've talked about R1 and R2. R1 is, I'm gonna borrow your foot again, buddy. So when you're taking a range of motion, this is not the way I would normally do it, but I'm just for video purposes. When I'm taking the range of motion, I'm going to see where I get the first resistance. That is R1. That is the range that they are functionally using. And then I'm going to kind of see how much I can get. And that is R2. That's how much range is available, but it's not what he's using. So that means either he has tone restricting him, or he has some tightness, or he's not using it because he's not trusting his eccentric control of his calves. Again, refer to old videos that I have done. So he's a little bit tighter than somebody his age should be. So we're going to start working on some exercises. We've released the toe walking exercises handbook that I'm going to do. I think what happened is that he had a growth spurt. I have not measured him. He tends to run towards low tone. He does not have low tone, but he's on the low end of average. Like if you heard him asking about sitting, I'm always on him. Let's not take these pictures out. Those are special pictures. So his preferred sitting posture is like this. So he has what I call a turtle back. His shoulder blades are very wide. Like they are all the way out here. Like this is the medial border. So sit up tall, buddy. Sit up tall, sit up tall, sit up tall. Even still, they're very wide. Like they should definitely be in closer. So he has a very forward, I will when I'm done talking. He has a very forward shoulder. I really need to work on what I would call his posterior chain. So his back and getting that stronger. So ways that I would do that is encourage tummy time, even as a 4-year-old. I'm constantly on him to sit up tall, but that's not fun to be constantly reminded of that. So we could work on some side sitting. He could do more of a crisscross. If you noticed, he likes to do this like tight butterfly, which just lets him like slump. The other, can you get on your knees? The other position I've noticed him sitting in is this, where he then just tends to round through here, plus it puts his foot in a pointed position. And then one other one I've seen him in is kind of this, where he's got the leg in tight, still on his knee, and this is just continuing to facilitate hamstring tightness and stuff. So I've been encouraging him not to sit in these positions. He can do the crisscross. I like the side sit, and for him, I like the left side sit because sorry, Bubba. He had left torticollis when he was a baby, which meant his left side was tighter. So when he sits like this, it's encouraging activation on that right side. And it's also harder to sit like in a slouched position, not that he can't. But so I think he had the perfect storm of events. He had shoes that did not fit his foot great. They still let a lot of pronation happen. He had a growth spurt, so his muscles got pulled taut while in a pronated position. And he tends towards lower than average tone, where he sits in these postures that lengthen the posterior chain, which means he's not using it as much, which is where we get our anti-gravity control. So our posterior chain is what helps us, not all of it, quads help too, but like helps us from not collapsing against gravity. So if we don't trust that, we find compensations, and one of those compensations is to go up on the toes. So I just think that all of that together caused him to start walking on his toes. He can still do heel to toe. When I ask him to do it, he can do it. It's when he gets busy that he tends towards hitting that front of his foot as opposed to the heel. I've already seen a little bit of a difference with the inserts in. So anyway, let me know if you guys want me to continue to keep you posted on this. I'll also link our toe walking guide. It's going to have a lot of the exercises that I'm going to do for him. And I'll put this in our toe walking highlights and on our YouTube. So let me know if you have questions. Thanks.